Hello sweet team, welcome back to my channel. This is Sweet Adjeley. I am so excited to be with you all today as I take you to the northern parts of Ghana with this amazingly delicious Tuo Zaafi recipe. So I sure hope I make all my northerners proud. Fauzia Muller and Suez Palo, you are invited to a feast. Yes, y'all, let's get started. So here I have half a medium onion. I also have about a thumb-sized ginger, one Scotch bonnet pepper, and one of my spice blend cubes. I'm just going to put everything in my blender and I'm going to blend it, and we'll be using that to season and steam our meat. I'm using beef, goat meat, and some tripe of both goats and cow meat. I'll add my spice blend cube and I'll also add my blended up ingredients, beef seasoning, and some salt to taste. Cover it up and bring it to a boil. Once it boils, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a good stir, and I didn't start with any water because I want this to cook a bit in its own juices, but goat's meat is very tough, so I'll be adding some more water later to cook it until it is nice and tender. For the stew, I'll be using 1 canned tomato. This is about 2 cups. I have 1 medium-sized onion and half a medium red onion, 1 spice blend cube. I'm going to cut up my onions and blend it. Okay, so I've cut everything up nicely and I'm adding it into my blender, and I forgot to add 1 Scotch bonnet pepper. It's optional, but I want my stew to be nice and spicy. So everything goes in, I'll blend and set it aside. In my pot, I'll add some palm oil and allow it to heat up. Then I'll add in my sliced up red onions. Stir and cook for about 3 minutes. Then I'll add in my blended up ingredients and I'm going to stir and cook for an additional 5 minutes. It's been frying very nicely. It's looking good. So at this point, I'll give it a quick stir and then I'll go ahead and add in my blended tomatoes, which is the ones that was in the can. Now you can use fresh tomatoes if you prefer. I'll rinse out the bowl and add that water. Okay, I also rinsed out the blender, and now I'm going to cook this until the tomatoes loses its sour taste and oil begins to form on top of my stew. Alright, so I'm checking on the meat. It is looking good, so I'm going to check the tenderness to see if it is at the tenderness that I'm going for. It's still quite tough, so I'm going to add enough water to cook it until nice and soft, or to your preferred tenderness. So checking on the stew, I'm going to be adding a bit of shrimp powder. Give it a good stir and allow it to continue cooking. Now I love using shrimp powder as a form of seasoning, so I'm not using so many other types of seasoning. It is totally optional. If you're allergic, please do not use it. Now I'm checking on my meat and it looks good, completely done. So I just move it to the side because I want to get some of the stock. I will be adding it to my Ayoyo soup. It's optional, but this is going to give it a very nice flavor. Okay. I Our stew is looking good. It's been cooking now for about 20 minutes. So I'm just going to give it a quick stir. You can see oil beginning to settle on top of it, and that's exactly where you want to be when you add your meat. And I'm adding my meat together with the stock. I'm not frying or baking it. You can if you want to, but this is the way I learned how to cook this, and it is absolutely delicious. Trust me, you won't even know you didn't fry or bake your meat. So I'm just going to give it a good stir, cover it up, and continue cooking it on medium-low heat because I want it to cook slowly, simmering until all the oil settles on top and my stew is tasting absolutely delicious. So we're just going to leave this stew alone to do its thing. Meanwhile, I'll be prepping my cornmeal and Kokonte flour for our Tuo Zaafi, and I brought this cornmeal from Ghana. It is very fine and white, and I believe they use the corn that the skin have been taken off to make this cornmeal. Okay, we call it akbohe. So I'm just going to sift it, set it aside, and I'll also go ahead and sift my Kokonte flour and set that aside as well. I'll have a recipe of how you can make your own Kokonte flour at home coming shortly. Look at our stew. It is nice. It is ready. Oh my goodness. This stew also went well with rice. Hey, not just rice, so kenke bankun. This stew is absolutely amazing. Just delicious. So we're just going to set this aside and get on with our Tuo Zaafi. I'm pouring some hot water into my pot right here. I'll cover it up and bring it back to a boil. We'll be using this to make the porridge part of our Tuo Zaafi. And here I have some water and my cornmeal. I'm going to mix the two together, and you want to mix it until it is nice and smooth because you do not want the porridge to be lumpy, because lumpy porridge will intend give you lumpy Tuo Zaafi, and we do not want that. So I'll mix everything well. My water have come to a rolling boil, so it is time for me to add my cornmeal mix into my hot water, and you want to pour and stir quickly because if you do this slowly it may get lumpy. Okay, once everything mixes nicely and you do not have any lumps, you've done it. So our porridge is looking good. Now we just have to cook it until it is done. So we'll just let it boil for about 5 minutes and it should be done. It doesn't take long at all. Once your porridge is done, everything else goes very quickly.
Continental food, madam. Food, madam. International food captain. We'll show you how to make pizza, jollof, banku and okra soup, sushi and pastries. All this and more.
Our porridge is nice and ready. So I'm just going to scoop half of it into a separate pot right here. You can put it in a bowl or any other thing. I just chose to use 2 pots. So just scoop some, set it aside, and we will begin with our Tuo Zaafi process. Well, we began already. So now that you only have half of it, it is time to add your Kokonte flour, and I like to use a sift to do this because it keeps me from getting lumps. If I scoop it into it, I always get lumps. So using this sift is a life saver. It makes my life easy. I don't have a lot of lumps to try to break. So yeah, do it your way, okay? So you want to add it to the thickness that you want, stirring quickly to avoid it becoming lumpy. And Tuo Zaafi is not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be very runny, almost like porridge, but then once it sits, it hardens. And that is the reason why I choose to make mine Tuo Zaafi before the Ayoyo soup, because once the Ayoyo soup is ready, I am ready to eat. And if this Tuo Zaafi is hot, it is impossible to eat it. That's just what it is. It has to cool down before you can actually eat it. So yeah, I just stir and press it to the side of the pot. Stir, press to the side of the pot, and as you can see, my Tuo Zaafi have no lumps. So, and this was my first try, okay? I just knew I had to come up with a way to make my life easy, because whenever I make Kokonte, it becomes lumpy until I found my sift. Yes, my sift is my lifesaver. So once you've mixed it for a while, you want to add some of the porridge if you think it's too hard, to soften it up, because if you make this hard right now, by the time you're ready to eat it, it'll be too hard, and that is not how Tuo Zaafi is enjoyed. Tuo Zaafi is very light, not as heavy as banku. When you're eating it, you don't realize you're eating too much. We do not want that, but it is absolutely delicious. So at this point, I'm just going to leave it to boil a bit with the porridge that I just added, because that's what actually cooks it. You want to leave it alone to boil for about 5 minutes, and then you'll come back and check it, stir, add more porridge if you need. If not, it is done.
Sweet Adjeley, continental food, madam. Food, madam. International food captain. We'll show you how to make pizza, jollof, banku and okra soup, sushi and pastries. All this and more. Sweet Adjeley, Sweet Adjeley, Sweet Adjeley. Continental food, madam. International food captain. We'll show you how to make pizza, jollof, banku and okra soup, sushi and pastries. All this and more. Sweet Adjeley, Sweet Adjeley, Sweet Adjeley.
Our Tuo Zaafi is ready. Bring your bowl so I can scoop it in. So as soon as our Ayoyo soup is ready, you are ready to go. But I'm going to scoop some into a plastic bag, and I'm going to shape it into the shapes they have it in Ghana. It is totally optional. If you do not want to use the plastic bag, you can clean the sides of your pot, cover it up to allow it cool in the pot, and then when you're ready to serve, you can just use your spoon to scoop it up, or your ladle to scoop it out into your bowl and enjoy. But I'm following the process. Stay with me.
Continental food, madam. Food, madam. International food captain. We'll show you how to make pizza, jollof, banku and okra soup, sushi and pastries. All this and more. Sweet Adjeley.
Now, last but definitely not the least, our Ayoyo soup. Let me quickly take you through the ingredients for that. I have my okra right here, and I found this type that's nice and green. I was so happy. You also need your jute leaf. If you're in Ghana, you can get the fresh one. I can't, so this is what I picked up, and this is what the packaging looked like. You should find it in most African markets or Asian markets. I have my beef stock, DawaDawa, herring powder, and shrimp powder. Now there's another type of jute leaf you can find. So either you find this packaging or the one I just showed you. They both work perfectly. The next thing I'm going to do is to deseed my okra. Why am I doing that? If you blend your okra with the seeds, it turns white, and we want our ayoyo soup to be nice and green. It's optional, okay? But if you want that super green color, you have to do this. The seed will cause your ayoyo soup to be white, and you do not want that. We are all done, and this is what it looks like. I'm just going to chop them roughly and put it into my blender, and with the okra I'm going to blend it until it is nice and smooth. You have to blend it well because you do not want anybody to know that you added okra. Now if I had more jute leaves, I'll use just that, but because I don't have a lot of that, I'm adding the okra to help with the sliminess. I'm going to give the jute leaf like a rough chop in my blender. So I just add it into the blender, add a little bit of water, and kind of use the pulse motion to just crush it up a bit. This is a bit thick, so I'm just going to go ahead and add in a bit of water, and the amount of water you add totally depends on you. If you want your soup to be thick, don't add too much water, but if you want it to be light, you can add more water. I just want it in the middle, so this is just perfect. I give it a quick stir, and I'm going to just bring it to a boil. Our soup is looking good, so at this point I'll add in my beef stock. I'll also add some shrimp powder, herring powder, and finally some DawaDawa locust beans. Okay, so if you cannot find locust beans, you can use maybe lonchala or momoni. It should give you the same flavor, not too much, just a little bit to give you that flavor. I'm just stirring it up now, and I'll taste it for salt. If it is perfect, that is it. If not, I'm just going to season it with a little bit of salt, allow it to simmer for about 3 more minutes, and my soup should be ready because I do not want to overcook this soup. And there you have it. Our ayoyo soup is nice and ready. It is looking absolutely delicious. So now stew, check. Tuo Zaafi, check. Ayoyo soup, check. The only thing left is to serve and enjoy. And the way we serve this in Ghana is we serve the Tuo Zaafi, then the ayoyo soup, which is the green soup, and then we top it up with the stew, which makes it look so beautiful. Not only does it look beautiful, but it tastes absolutely delicious, if I may say so myself. I'm just playing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give your girl a thumbs up. Thank you. Share and subscribe if you have not done that yet. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel. This is Sweet Adjeley. Thank you so much for subscribing. And to the sweet team, y'all know I love you. Until I see you in my next video, stay safe, keep loving each other, and remember that the love of God and family is life's greatest blessing. And guys, ke onamini ochemi sweet mahabotu. Bye y'all.